and roughly 20% of the world's oil shipments go through the Strait of Hormuz. So, can the United States secure it without the help of its allies? For more on that, we've reached former U.S. Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta. He also served as the director of the CIA. Secretary Panetta, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be with you.
We know that the U.S. president has said it would be, quote, very bad for the future of NATO if allies don't step up and help secure the Strait of Hormuz. Is it NATO's responsibility to step in and help during this time?
Well, it's the United States' responsibility, very frankly, to be able to build alliances that will work with you if you intend to go to war. And the president, frankly, never laid that groundwork. He basically just went to war without looking at what a clear objective would be, without looking at a strategy for the kind of consequences that would result from war, and without considering an end game to the war. So in many ways, he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, because he's not able to achieve regime change, which was his initial goal. He's trying to declare victory and bring the war to an end, but Iran obviously took the advantage of blocking the Straits of Hormuz, which should have been anticipated. If you're going to war with Iran, that's an obvious consequence. And now in many ways, he's got a gun to his head because of rising oil prices and the damage that's doing. So the problem is the president's playing catch up. And that's not an easy game to play when you're in the middle of a war. I would hope that some of the allies would help. I do think the United States has to open the Straits of Hormuz because it would be difficult to get a ceasefire or even negotiate with Iran without resolving the oil issue. So it's a difficult situation. It just points out that it's easy to go to war, and it's much more difficult to bring that war to an end.
In terms of playing catch up, as you say, to try and open up the Strait of Hormuz, we know that the U.S. government or Donald Trump has called China out, the U.K., Japan, France, and South Korea. What is the likelihood that any of these nations would step in to help now, given, of course, how dire the need is for the contents that would come through the strait?
Well, the problem is that obviously the president is calling out for help, but one of the things that should have been considered prior to going to war is how the United States would have kept the Straits of Hormuz open, using our destroyers, using our naval power, using our ability to strike at whatever military facilities they have that border on the straits. That didn't happen. And so now he's hoping that he can get some help. But in order to get the help, I think the United States is going to have to lead the way. We're going to have to deploy our destroyers. We're going to have to open up the straits. We're going to have to do what is necessary. And the hope would be that if we lead on that effort, that then our allies will join with us in trying to ensure that the Straits of Hormuz remain open. But I think right now the responsibility is for the United States to show that we can take important steps to open up the Straits of Hormuz.
You know, Mr. Panetta, one of the questions that has certainly been circulated, and that comes towards the end game here when it comes to this conflict, what is the potential outcome? And is there the potential here for this to be a prolonged, protracted conflict, as we have certainly seen with U.S. involvement in the past?
Well, that's always been the danger of getting involved in wars in the Middle East, that consequences take place, things happen that you're not prepared for, and it prolongs the war. That's been the story of the wars we've been in the Middle East. Look, I think the president understands that he's not going to achieve the objective of regime change. And I think he would like to be able to declare victory and be able to bring the war to an end. The key is for the United States to make clear that we have achieved the military objective. I think we have degraded Iran's ability to conduct war, and that we've attacked their targets, we've attacked their drones and their missiles and their capability. So I think we have, in fact, degraded their ability. But now with the Straits of Hormuz, you're simply not going to be able to achieve a ceasefire, because Iran is not going to agree to a ceasefire as long as they control the Straits of Hormuz. So I think the president does not have much of a choice here. He's going to have to do what is necessary to open up the Straits of Hormuz before he can then hopefully declare victory and end this war.
You know, I also want to ask you, in your capacity as a former CIA director, in terms of security when it comes to U.S. soil, but also, of course, proximity, Canada, some of the similar security concerns exist because we are, of course, such close neighbors. I'm wondering what sort of security concerns or threats you may foresee given the actions that are being taken in Iran right now.
Well, the United States has already experienced terrorist attacks. And we've seen that Iran has the capability to inspire what we call lone wolves to take action and to commit violence. I would hope that the United States, particularly our law enforcement, our security agencies, would work with the Canadian security and law enforcement in order to make sure that we do what is necessary to share intelligence on where possible threats may be, and in order that we try to unify as far as our ability to provide security for our own people. That's important. We are in a war. Make no mistake about it. I know there are some that try to call it something other than a war. But when you're losing men and women in uniform, and when you're conducting the kind of attacks that we've been conducting, we are in a war. And as a result, we have to act like it.
Mr. Panetta, I want to thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate your thoughts on this.
Good to be with you.
That is Leon Panetta. He is the former U.S. Secretary of Defense and a former CIA director. Thanks again.